So congratulations on your record. It's coming out in it'll be tomorrow here because it's already Thursday. So,
wow, how cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yep. What are you going to do? Anything exciting?
I have a show in Long Beach on Friday at this really great house that this guy Toby throws shows at, and it's just like in his living room, and it's just really intimate and nice. It'll be a good way to celebrate.
And is it just you solo, or are you going to have folks helping you out?
I've been practicing with the instrumentation that's on the record, so I have keyboard and stand-up bass.
Good.
Yeah,
sounds like fun. And
yeah.
have you had to go through rehearsals and all that stuff to get ready for it?
Yeah, we've done a couple. Yeah.
And how are the songs kind of holding up under the pressure of being presented live?
It's been really cool. It's nice the people playing with me aren't the people that played on the record, so they put their own spin on it, and yeah, it's been really nice. The nylon string is pretty challenging live, like to mic it and amplify it. It's a little bit of a wild beast, but when you get it right, it's so lovely. So that's been my latest challenge of just trying to find some way to get it consistent, But yeah, it's sounding really nice. I'm stoked.
Okay. Very good, very good. So the album is called Geist. Is that correct? Am I pronouncing it? Yeah. And it's a German word, which means spirit, if I'm not mistaken, and Mr. Google has informed me. So,
yes.
Why have you chosen that to title your record?
I wanted it to reflect. I was really thinking about how powerful the human spirit is in general, and especially during this, weird time that we're in. Just watching people, persevere through it and adapt to it, and how a lot of people were struggling, but a lot of people also found it an opportunity to thrive and get closer to themselves and be creative. And so it was just really cool to watch everybody become what felt like these like more realized versions of themselves while having a little bit of stillness to consider what they even wanted to be. I think we don't often get that opportunity. We're so caught up in just like the human game, like doing the human thing.
Yep.
I wanted to, I like the idea of kind of poetically offering what I'm trying to convey, and Geist felt like a nice way to say it without being kind of outwardly too hippy dippy about it, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. Fair enough. So how did you cope with the lockdown and all that stuff that went? What was your mindset like during it?
It was interesting. The November of 2019, I kind of had a really big, like, my foundations basically shattered. I had this feeling like I just needed to cut ties with old bands and relationships and all these things. And I didn't really know why. And then the pandemic hit, and it was kind of this validating moment of like, oh, I'm just supposed to, do some work right now. And so it was a great opportunity to go inward and kind of clear out the clutter of what felt like a lot of a lifetime of, just picking up things along the way. And so much of the beliefs and thoughts that I had weren't even mine. So it was nice to just question some of that and just try and get closer to myself and get to know myself better. It was a really cool process that will be lifelong, but it felt like a really big step towards doing it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see how people come out of all of this and what happens with them and to them and all that. So the band you were with was the Fields, is that right?
Yeah.
And you also play with Ty Segall quite a bit as well, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 2020 would have been my last year playing with him because I was kind of, he does like a rotating cast for different records sometimes. And so I was like on the First Taste run, and I'm bummed that we would have done another US tour and another Europe tour, but
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is when you put the tracks together for this record, you kind of started it off yourself, did kind of voice and whatever, and then sent them around as files to different people that you wanted to contribute. So maybe you can elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, it was an interesting process. The songs came together very isolated. Like I was just writing by myself. So I had the nylon string, and the demos, I really went wild with like the harmonies and stuff. So, because no one was telling me to stop. So I was just like, So when I went into the studio, I wanted to like recreate that, but obviously in like a more polished way, so to speak. And so we went in and did the vocals and guitar. I did that with Jarvis Tavernier, who's absolutely amazing. And then we sent the songs to Devin Hoff, who is in New York, and
Right.
he did stand-up bass. And then he sent those back, and then I sent songs to Ben Boy, who was in LA but has a little bit of immune problem, so he wasn't seeing anyone. So we sent the songs to him, and he was able to work in his
Right.
own studio and do the keys, and he did some like auto harp and some synthesizer. He ended up being credited as Dimension Revealer on the record because
Okay.
he really did crack it wide open. It was such a trip to watch. You know, they went out as these very kind of I guess like this skeletal sonic thing, and then it came back just like more and more fully realized, and it was so amazing to see. And then a big part of the process, more than I'd ever done before, was mixing the thing, because you know, as we were getting things back, the song would change. So like we'd
Sure.
get the back and then we'd adjust everything else. And so we spent like a good 4 months just like mixing the songs and getting everything back. And that process was very cool because we were also able to like edit the parts, you know, like this, because we weren't in the studio being like, oh, do that one more time and just repeat, you know, everyone
Yep.
just sent in the whole thing, and we kind of edited it. So it was an amazing process. And in the end, I loved the result because I feel like you can really hear everyone's environment in a way.
Gotcha.
And to give someone music to sit with instead of, you know, having them in the studio for 2 or 3 hours and then, you know, just going on the fly, like to let them get to know the songs a bit. I liked it. It was a cool way to do it.
It's also, I'm thinking you must have, there must be a lot of trust going back and forth between you as the producer or creator and the musician out there somewhere who's going, okay, I've got this thing. How about I'll try this, because, you know, you don't have any kind of immediate feedback going back and forth. And I'm sure nobody wants to be discarded once they've made something, you know, so there's all that going on. Is that an kind of an overarching thing in that process?
Totally. I feel so lucky at this point to have met so many people that I would trust with that. And Devin has always been kind of a musical soulmate in that sense, where like, you know, I've been in New York to play a show and we've like run into each other on the subway and just been like, hey, I'm playing tonight. You want to play with me? And he'll be like, okay. And he'll show up and just rip it. I mean, he, you know, even if he doesn't even know what's going to be played, he's so good at adapting to that. And then Ben was, him and I connected a lot as we were touring with Thai band, and he was just such a kindred spirit and so creative, just like no holds bar, will try anything, has like almost like a scientist's brain when it comes to music, like just so creative and like interesting. He's just such an interesting fellow. And so I knew that they would both know what to do and know how to add to it without being too heavy-handed with it too.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah. Now we want to touch on a track or two on the record. And of course, I believe you've written all of them but one. So we'll talk about the one that you didn't write first.
Okay.
It's a Sid Barrett tune called Late Night, which is off of, I think, the Madcap Laughs. Yeah. So why did you, and I was amazed because I'm fairly familiar with that record. And when I heard you sing it, I was like, wait a minute. It almost sounds like, it doesn't sound like Sid, like you're imitating him, but you can feel his presence in the track.
Yes. I love Sid Barrett's music so much. And I think what I like about it the most is this kind of simultaneous wisdom and innocence that's always going on. You know, It's like, it's so playful, but it's so serious at the same time. Like it's off kilter, but it makes sense. Like it's just all of the things combined. And that song in particular just feels like a 5-year-old singing about being in like the most intense love affair, you know? Like
Yep.
It's a weird balance. And I think I've really been trying to explore that within myself, like, you know, having more fun while at the same time still being passionate and very serious about what I'm doing, but remembering that, like, I don't know, it's all about enjoyment, and it's not about beating yourself up or being too harsh. It's just, yeah, you have to have that balance in it. And it's such a fine line sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
also read that you're a big fan of Dune.
Oh yeah, I saw the David Lynch version for the first time last year, and it just blew my mind. I was so stoked on like the themes, like fear is the mind killer and like all that. I'm excited to see the new one. I've heard
Right.
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Because I've seen the original back in the day. I'm old enough to have seen it. And I remember that it didn't go over so well with the critics back then.
People hated it. Yeah.
And I need to revisit it, I think. So,
Yeah,
and like you say,
absolutely.
there's a new version coming, right? So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is it about that really, how does that influence what we hear?
Rare to Wake is very much based on the feelings I had after watching Dune, which is, I mean, it's kind of like Paul is such an amazing character because the whole time he basically has to step into what he already is. And like, I like that thought as we kind of travel through life. It's like, we like to think that we're always becoming like better versions of ourselves, but I feel like we kind of have always been that best version of ourselves, and we're just like evolving. It's a strange thing in my head, but the line like, have you always been who you are? It's just, I think that there's some truth to that.
Yep.
In that we've always been the full embodiment of ourselves. It's just kind of discovering that within ourselves. Like it's just sitting there for us to, like, there's breadcrumbs to the source, but
Yep.
it's always within us.
Yep.
I loved that. Yeah, the idea of fear being kind of the ultimate adversary in humankind, and reflecting on that and how it comes up in the mind, and how interesting it is to be inside your brain. And if you have any kind of practice with like awareness or being objective about things within your mind, it's so interesting to just look at it and see what's going on, because so much of it is just this kind of senseless fear, or sensible fear. A lot of it is sensible fear, but it's also, I feel like, trying to convince us not to try so that we don't fail. It's just so afraid that we're going to fail, and it wants to protect us. And so much of life is just overcoming that and trying anyways, because that fear, in the end, failure is nothing to be afraid of. It's where we learn the most about ourselves, and it's where we learn to redirect and go on the path we're supposed to be on. It's amazing. Yeah, Dune got me thinking about all that stuff. It's a wild trip, man.
I'm definitely going to have to watch it again. Yeah. And I assume that's why you kind of had that track lead off the record as well.
Yeah, that song, it felt like a good way to start it off. Because I mean, even today, like a lot of times I'll listen to that song when I'm just kind of stuck in the fear, and like I'll listen to it and just, it's I love like the forward movement of it. And once it starts, it's kind of unrelenting, the whole thing. And that is how it is. It's like, once you kind of accept the journey into changing your relationship with change and the constant, I mean, it's the one constant in our lives, and yet it's like one of the hardest things to accept. And so any reminder that we can do it, I think we need all those reminders that like we're fully capable of facing our fear, of letting go of our pain and not holding on to it out of principle. Like all of these things that I think, have really plagued humankind. Like it's occurring to me that now as a generation, we're finally being given the privilege and the access to heal these things, and to take the time to look at ourselves and to think differently, and to not just kind of go with what we've been given. So It's an interesting era to be in. I feel very lucky to be in this time.
Well, that's interesting, because there are a lot of people who would feel almost the opposite. Like, things have never been horrible. It's the end of the world. I mean, everything's going down the toilet. It's blah, 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 and all this and all that. But yet, like, you have a track called Sure, which is very reassuring. And yes. I assume that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the end, like, below the fear, there's just this peace and calm. And I trust that. I think that anything that comes into your mind and makes you fearful, like, I always picture like running it through your heart and just like taking it down into your heart. And if it's still true in your heart, then, maybe look at it. Maybe there is something to be afraid of here. But usually, most of the time, it's just that ego voice or that human thing that comes up. And if it's, it's either coming from fear or it's coming from love. And when it's coming from fear, it's not coming from your soul, basically. Like, your soul is pure love, and the world is just full of fear. So it's very easy to pick it up. Like I remember going to the grocery store in the thick of the pandemic, and I'd come home and I would just be so scared. And I think it's because fear was in the air. You know, we were breathing in each other's fear. You know, it was just an intense moment. And
so
it's
is it
just
more of a fear of the COVID or fear of fear itself, so to speak?
I mean, both, because I feel like COVID just what it did in my mind was just bring everyone closer to each other's suffering, which is, you know, the ultimate reminder of how connected we are in the end, which is also a terrifying concept. I think the separation that we feel is an illusion of safety. And it's nice to feel that way, because then I'm not that person, you know, or I'm not that, you know, that homeless person. You know, it's like all of these things, but in the end, like I am you, you are me, like we are all connected in this world. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the song by John Cale called Fear?
No.
I think the lyric, if I'm not incorrect, is fear is a man's best friend in that one. And it's a very visceral kind of kind of thing. Check it out. If you need to sit down when you're listening to it, but it's completely.
Yeah, I agree with that though. I mean, there is something just so, I have not met one person that does not have struggle with loving themselves, struggle with, you know, feeling they are worthy of good things. And so it's an interesting thing that it's really like built into our DNA to be.
Right. Yeah.
But someone brought up a good point the other day to me, where it was like all the like cavemen that were like just peaceful and smelling flowers and enjoying their day, they got eaten up.
They never saw it coming.
Guys, you know, hiding and killing things that like made it through. So it's
There you go. Now you do have a track. It's called A Thread to Find, I believe, if I can read my writing correctly, which my understanding was is kind of inspired by kind of a deja vu event. Is that true?
Yeah, I played this festival in Switzerland, and they put us up at this amazing hotel, and it was like a hotel that was built in like the 1700s. Like it was so old,
right?
And it was on top of a hot spring, you know, like it was a really beautiful place. And walking in there, I felt like I'd been there before. Have you ever had that going into somewhere? It's a cool feeling. So yeah. It just struck me how, you know, we leave parts of ourselves all over the place. You know, like I think we kind of create ghosts in that sense. Like I saw myself like reading on this chair in another life when I was in there. You know, it was just this like very weird residue that I had left in that building. But yeah.
And what was it like playing to folks in Switzerland?
Oh my gosh, the best. I love Switzerland so much. It is so sarcastically beautiful, and the people are they are so generous and kind. And I'll never forget one show I played there. They took me to this like dinner beforehand and like filled me with like the most amazing, like rich, gravy, buttery, steaky goodness dinner, and so much wine. And then they just put me on stage, and I was just the happiest little kid.
That's great.
I was so blissed out, man. Oh my God. The best. And he was in like a cave. The show was in like a cave, you know?
Of course. That's a beautiful thing. So what's your plan after the 8th, after the record comes out on Friday? Are you, have you got like a plan of action to promote the record? Or are you thinking about the next one? What's your mindset like?
Yeah, I have some shows planned. I'm going to go to New York for 2 shows. It'll be my first time headlining there, which will be fun. And then I'm going to go to Europe in November and do about 10 shows. I'll do a couple festivals. And then nothing planned for next year yet. I'm feeling, you know, called to a couple places. So I'm just like looking into it. But for the most part, I really want to be a little more quality over quantity as I move forward with like touring and stuff.
Have you ever been down to New Zealand?
No, I would absolutely love to go.
I can't say it's sarcastically beautiful. Maybe it's cynically beautiful. I'm not sure.
I've heard it's incredible. Ben, who played on the record, he actually did a trip there with his girlfriend, and they had the best time. He said they rented a camper van, and you could just camp.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. So cool. So cool.
Well, before I moved here, that's kind of what I did to kind of discover just rent a camper van, drive all over the place. It's great.
Where are you from originally?
Well, I moved here from upstate New York, from Rochester.
Nice.
So So it was a big move, but that was like 25 years ago or so. So yeah, but yeah, I remember we're driving along the coastline of New Zealand, and there's this amazing beach, shore, whatever, and it just go on for miles, and there was nobody on, and you couldn't see anybody. It was just empty. It was just for miles like that. So it's like, whoa.
What a trip. Seems
Yeah.
amazing. I can't wait to come.
Yep, come on down. It's great.
Yeah, I can't wait till we can, freely explore again. It's still such a weird time. We gotta just ease back in,
Yep, that's the way.
Yeah.
Everybody's impatient. They want to do everything all of a sudden, but I don't
I
think that's
know.
going to work.
At this point, it's really hard, but I always have to remind myself that, like, even if the moment isn't very enjoyable, there's medicine in every moment. There's information in every moment. And to rush out of it is to negate what's there. So, like,
Right.
just gotta find the beauty, I guess.
Find the beauty. Good for it. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that with me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Brighten up my day already. It's almost 9:00 in the morning.
wow, it's 1 in the afternoon here. We're not too far, but you're tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. What a trip. I love that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.